down here on the lower left, you'll see where you have all their devices. You go to security, you only have one firewall to choose from. Pretty easy. As far as the routers are concerned, it doesn't really matter which one you pick. I'm going to go ahead and go with the 2911 for R1. And if you look at the back of the diagram, okay, we need an ISP router and a couple of switches. The switches can be dumb switches. You don't have to configure anything special. So I'll go ahead and pick another 2911 for my second router. And on the switch side, again, doesn't really matter. A couple 2960s will suffice. Okay. Okay. So here, we'll go ahead and, not really. You can go into the routers, go into their config and change all their host names and everything else from here. That's perfectly fine. ISP. And this one, router 1, actually, R1, host name 1. And if we look at the diagram, it's kind of hard to see there, but it's FW1 is the host name for the firewall, FW1. FW1. There we go. Okay. So now you should be able to kind of push everything around, make it all look nice and pretty. Alright, switch 0 is going to be here on our DMZ. You don't have to worry about naming these, it's no big deal. But looking back at the diagram again, let's get our interfaces right. So on the ISP, F01 is pointing to R1, and F00 on R1 is pointing to the ISP, F1 to the firewall. Okay, these are physical connections here, G0, G01, G02. I think for the 5505 they'll be Ethernet, so E0, E01, E02. That's just physical connection. What we're going to do, this is a slight change to the lab. You have to create VLAN interfaces in the 5505. Okay, 2 of them are already made. You're inside and you're outside. You have to create a third for your DMZ and do a little bit of magic to make sure that the DMZ can route to the inside interface. I will go over that though. All right, so everybody with me so far? Any questions of how I got to this point? All I did was throw routers on the screen. So let me go ahead and connect them up. Now I'm just doing straight through Ethernet connections.
Don't you have to do crossover on the first one?
Nope. So this is gig 01 to gig 00. This is going to be gig 0. Did I do that right? Oh boy. See, I want to make sure I don't goof up. I did do it right. Ethernet 1 is connected to your inside switch, and doesn't matter what port. And Ethernet 02 is going to be connected to your DMZ switch again, doesn't matter. All right, everybody with me now? All I've done is connections per the diagram. Everybody with me? Questions? Okay. I did this in the other class the other day, and I went like extremely fast, so I learned my lesson. I'm slowing down. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm sure by now you can put IP addresses on interfaces on the routers, and I'll go over a little bit on the static routes in a minute. Let's go ahead and jump into ASA as to what you need to know. So on the ASA, all right, you go to the command line. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so it's a little easier to see. Okay, I'm already in global configuration mode. It's changed my host name. Now, the thing with the firewalls that's a little bit different from the routers is you do not have to initiate the do command if you're in global configuration mode or interface configuration mode. You can just do the command. So I can just do show run from anywhere, and it'll show me the running config. Okay? All I did was sh space run. So, all right, Ethernet 00 is on VLAN 2. All the rest of them are on VLAN 1 because it doesn't state, all right, which is fine, all right. So Ethernet 02, which is on our DMZ, we've got to put on VLAN 3, but we've got to create VLAN 3. We also have to change the IP addresses because they come with default out of the box IP addressing and a DHCP scope that we've got to take out. So,
What was the enable password on the 5505?
enter.
No, when I do, just thank you.
Okay. So you see my VLAN interfaces there. I have 1 and 2, and you'll see a couple of commands that you haven't seen before. The name if and the security level. I'll get to those in a second. Okay. And VLAN 2 is also looking for a DHCP. It's acting as a DHCP client looking for a DHCP server. We're going to have to take that out as well. Okay? So DHCP in a firewall acts more like a DHCP service in a Linux server than it does what you're used to in a router. Okay? So you don't have DHCP pools. All right? You have the DHCPD service, just like if you were to put this in Ubuntu or Debian or Red Hat box. But we're going to change that. Okay? So I'm going to do no DHCPD. Take that out. And then the other one, no DHCPD enable inside. Okay, that takes those two out. And that third DHCPD command for auto config on the outside interface, we need to take that out because we're going to put a static IP address on VLAN 2, which is the outside interface. No, DHCPD. No auto underscore, no DHCPD, auto underscore config outside. Okay. Back to show run. You'll see that those commands are gone. Alright? Perfect. We still have the DHCP command under VLAN 2. Let's go ahead and take that out. Go into the interface with the int VLAN 2 command. out, it's just no IP add. Right. I do a show run. Oh.
You're gonna do interface. And I go,
There we go. Yeah, do no IP address. Okay. So let's go ahead and correct the IP addressing for VLAN 1, VLAN 2, create VLAN 3, set up the physical, tie the physical Ethernet 02 to VLAN 3. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create VLAN 3 first. So from global configuration mode, interface VLAN 3. Simple as that. And that will create the VLAN interface. Alright? Now we go back and look at the diagram. We can see that the inside network is 10.0.0.1/24. That's VLAN 1. VLAN 2 is 204.184.21.30/30. Okay. And the DMZ, which is VLAN 3 on Ethernet 02. Ooh, wait a second here. All right, question. I have a public space of 134.68.123.0/26. But over here it says my DMZ server network is 192.168.0.0/26. And all of my local IPs are there. My netted IPs that I'm going to have to do later in the firewall are there. So, riddle me this, Batman. My VLAN 3 interface, which is for my DMZ, is what IP address? I'll give you a hint. The IP address that is configured on all 4 of those servers on the NIC, if you went into ifconfig, if it's a Linux box, or under Windows, you go to the interface and you look at the IPv4 settings. Those addresses are going to be 192.168.0.13, 22, 25, 53 respectively. So, the VLAN 3 interface on the ASA would be what address? Don't everybody answer at once.
0.1.
What's the full IP address?
192.168.0.1. Well, I mean, you could do .1.
Well, it's on the diagram. You're correct. What's the subnet mask? Do I gotta start throwing out extra credit here for you guys to answer my questions? I will.
It's still /26.
Yeah, what's the subnet mask? I'll give you a hint, it starts with 255. Raise your hand. You know it. Go ahead.
It ends in 192.
Right. 255.255.255.192. Don't see me after class for some extra credit. Alright, we'll play this game. Play this game. Okay. Alright, so I've created a VLAN 3, so I've got to do IP. So I don't have to switch back and forth. You guys are going to help me out here. IP add 192.168. What was it? 0.1. Now, I also have to do the same thing that I did with, well, actually, that's already been done on VLAN 1 and VLAN 2. So you see VLAN 1, you see VLAN 2, and now you see VLAN 3. What doesn't look like the others? Now, we'll get to the IP address on VLAN 2 in a moment. All right? We gotta change the IP address on VLAN 1. We'll do that in a second. But you see I have a name interface and a security level. Okay? What this does is it does basically what you learned way back in chapter 3 for zoning. Okay? But it does it automatically. You don't have to do like a boatload of commands. It does it automatically. What the security interface level does is, the rule is the higher level interface can pass traffic to a lower level interface without restriction, i.e. no access list. But a lower numbered interface cannot pass traffic to a higher numbered interface without first going through some sort of ACL check, i.e. there's got to be an ACL type of the interface. All right? So, VLAN 3 is going to be our DMZ. Now the gentleman in the back cannot answer. All right? Who thinks that they know what that name interface should be? Here's a softball. Anybody? Anybody? Take a guess. I don't care. So I have name if inside, name if outside. Inside? I already have inside. Going once. Outside? No, I already have outside. Going twice? Right. No, your question was not answered in the form of your answer was not phrased in the form of a question. I'm kidding. Raise your hand. All right. All right. Sliding on this one. Name if space DMZ. Come see me after class. Thank you for your participation. All right, so in VLAN 3, I want to make sure I'm on the right interface. All right, name if DMZ. Now, be careful here because in everything that we're going to do in the future, when we talk about ACLs, we do natting, what have you, this is case sensitive. So if you make it capitalized DMZ, that's fine. The stuff that you're going to do later for NAT and ACLs is going to have to be capitalized. If it's lowercase like I have here, it's got to be lowercase. Everybody understand that? Everything, always treat every command, regardless of system, operating system, as being case sensitive. Just a good rule of thumb.
Is that because the ASC is objects?
Right. All right. So when I do that, it goes, wait a second, you have bad code. That's fine. It tells you what to do here. Okay? It says the license does not allow configuration of more than 2 interfaces with native and without a no forward command on this interface or on one interface with native already configured. So I've got to basically tell it not to forward to the inside interface because of a license restriction. This is that thing I wanted you to see because it's not in the lab, it's not in the slides. Write this down, all right? On VLAN 3, you've got to put one additional command in. This is that additional command, okay? You've got to put no forward in to the inside interface. Which is VLAN 1. Okay? No forward interface VLAN 1. Write that down. I'll wait. No forward interface VLAN 1. That's on interface VLAN 3. Okay? And when your fellow students who are not here tonight ask you or come to you and say, hey, how do I get my ASA to work? It won't work. You ask them for coffee or lunch or, yeah, I wasn't going there, but okay. All right, now I can just up arrow to my last command. Now I can do that name if command. And whoa, lo and behold, it automatically sets my security level to 0. But wait a second. I go back and I do my show run and look at my interface again. I have my outside interface that already has security level 0. And my inside interface has security level 100. So I can pass traffic from my inside interface to my outside interface, and from my inside interface to my DMZ. I can't pass it from the DMZ to the inside, the DMZ to the outside to the DMZ, or the outside to the inside. But that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So I've got to put a different security level on the DMZ interface so it can pass traffic to the outside uninhibited. Anybody want to guess what the command is going to be? Should be able to put this 2 and 2 together. And what security level I should make the DMZ? You've already answered. Yes, sir.
50.
Huh?
50?
Give me the command.
Sets security level.
Security dash level
50.
CMF class. That's 3. Cool. Alright, so I'm still on VLAN 3. Security dash level 50. And all I started to do there, guys, I don't type that fast. I typed SEC because I knew that that was going to be unique. And just like in a router, just like in Linux, I hit the tab button, which is called tab complete, and it completed the command for me. And I just have to put the variable after. Okay. Alright, now I do a show run. Voila. Okay. Alright, so now I need to put an IP address on VLAN 2, and I need to change my IP address for VLAN 1, and I've got to put Ethernet 02 on VLAN 3. So let's do the latter first. Alright. So 00 is VLAN 2, 01 is VLAN 1. I don't need to do anything on that because it's VLAN 1. And Ethernet 02 needs to be VLAN 2. So, you guys have already done this before. Int E0/2. Switch port, access, VLAN 3. Output it, VLAN 3. Out the gate. Okay. Now, I need to go into my interface VLAN 1 and change the IP address, which is the inside. So int VLAN 1 and IP add 10.0.0.1 if I'm not mistaken, right? /24. Is that right? Okay. And then int VLAN 2 and its IP address, which I forget what it was. Two 204.184.21. 204.184.21.3. Okay. All right. /30 IP /37 mask is correct. So we have 5. I was softball out of the park. All right. So now, as far as the ASA is concerned, all right, I have my IP addressing done. I have my VLANs done. Go back to the diagram here. Okay, I have all of this set up for now. I'm ACLs, don't have any natting done at that point in time. So let's just kind of go back here. All right, I have the host names done. I've gotta do the IP addressing on the, router and the ISP router. Okay? So, let's go ahead and do the connection between ISP and R1. Alright. I think F00 is the one that's connected, no, F01 is one that's connected to. Is that right?
01.
01 is connected to R1 on the ISP?
Yeah.
01, right? That's what I'm going to.
Yes.
And,
Oh, you're
oops. Alright. IP add 204 dot 204.184.21.
33.
33?
Yeah.
Shut, turn on. Okay. And then interface 0, 0 on R1. Right?
Yes.
Okay, shut it. Finger's not working today. Alright, and then gig 01, which is attached to the ASA, and G01 has an IP address of 204.184.21 dot 29. Okay, so I've done this correctly. All right, I have all my IP addressing done. Did 33, 34, 29, 30, 10, 0, 0, 0, 1, and 192.168.0.1. So all my IP addressing is done. Okay? So number 1 and number 2 are done. Number 3. All right, another chance for a little bit of extra credit here. All right, no routing protocols are used. All right. So you have to ensure that you have static routes for all your devices, and to make sure that you have 100% connectivity. Okay. Now, not taking into consideration access lists and that and all that yet. Let's just assume that we have all that in place. We need is to look at the routing. Okay? So, when looking at routing, it is best to either work from the inside to the outside or the outside to the inside. It really doesn't matter. Okay? But you have to remember that you need to have bi-directional or multi-directional routing depending on how many paths that you have into and out of the network. So, since the ASA, since these are dumb layer 2 switches, they're not doing any routing, the ASA only has to worry about how many routes. How many routes do you think I would have to put in on that ASA? Where would it point to? I'm not asking for the command, it's just general concept. I'll give you the command because I haven't gone over it yet. I see the wheels turning back there. Good. Anybody? Think about where your traffic is going. Going, not coming from, going. Okay? We do destination routing, all routing, all static routing, all dynamic routing is always destination based. Alright? We don't do source routing. There's only like 1% of all routers out there that actually do what we call source-based routing, and it's a pain in you know what, and I try to steer clear of it as much as possible. You have an idea?
5?
Huh?
5?
What does 5 mean?
Or,
Is that like
static.
answer to 5 static routes on the ASA?
When you ask for a static route, do you want us to include the default route in that list, in that number?
Think about that. You're on something. You're going down the right path.
Yeah. Doesn't mean, well, I have an answer for you, but I don't,
No, because you've already got it. Don't answer. But you're on the right path. You'd have one static route, which would be the default route. That's it. Why? Because everything would match into that static route. You don't have a route to the DMZ. You don't have a route to the inside because they're connected. The ASA already knows about it. Okay? It already knows about it. So it will route, or has the capability of routing from the DMZ to the inside at layer 2. Or layer 3 because it's a connected route, I should say. Alright? And, again, all things taken out of the equation, NATing, access lists, everything else. Alright? It would know to go from the inside to the DMZ on the same premise. The inside to the outside, the DMZ to the outside. Those networks it would know. What it would not know is the network in between the ISP and R1, and anything, any IP network beyond the ISP. So therefore, since everything is going to be matched on the outside of the ASA, you would just set up a default route on the ASA. Make sense? All right. Yes, Al.
Is it typical to set up your firewall to be directly connected to a DMZ? Or is there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the whole premise behind it.
It wouldn't be doing too much, I guess, work in a sense? Being
No.
able to handle all the DMZ traffic or
No.
not your firewall?
Because this is the end of the network, because this is the end of the network, it's not doing routing. It really isn't.
Right.
Okay? It's got 3 connected routes. It's going to do minimal amount of route lookups. It will have 1 route lookup, a default route. That's it. Okay? Now, if you had something crazy where you had like all kinds of networks over here off the DMZ, you're in a hosted environment, yada yada, first off, that's terrible design. 2, you would need to have this as a layer 3 switch or a router to do all that routing and have a summarized route to it. That's next level stuff, guys. Just dump that, don't worry about it. Okay, so, going back to the firewall. In global configuration mode, to set up a default route, an all zeros route, a route that will match any destination IP in an IP destination field, an IP header. Instead of doing IP route, it's just like Linux. It's route. You have to tell it where the packet's going to go. Okay? Via interface. Okay? Alright? Which is going to be outside. So, route to the outside, you're all zeros. Just like you do in a regular default route. So, instead of IP route, it's going to be route outside. You're telling it what destination, where to point the traffic to. Alright? And then just like in an IP route statement, the next parameter is your next hop. Your next IP address, which if you look at the diagram is 204.186.21.29.
184.21.
Oh, sorry. 204.184.21.29, correct? That's the IP address of R1. Okay? Okay? Now the next thing, you can just hit return here, but you can put a metric here. This is typically used if you're using dynamic routing protocols, which we are not, so don't worry about it, you just hit carriage return. That's it. Write that one down. That's what you need for the firewall. That was the easy one, okay? That was the easy one. Now, it gets a little complicated. And this is where I have a lot of students really kind of mess this up. Okay, is R1. Now, R1 knows about this network and it knows about this network. It doesn't know about anything past the ISP. Okay, and it doesn't know anything past the firewall, other than the network that is connected to the firewall. So, for double points, who can tell me how many static routes, whether they're a default route or a straight static route, R1 is going to have? How many static routes will R1 have?
2.
No. Okay.
3.
Correct. All right, now, since we're using the IP route command, okay, continue on here. On R1, can you tell me what one of those static routes is going to be? I'll give you a hint. It starts with IP route. So what did I have with a firewall? Firewall didn't know anything past the ISP. Do you think R1 knows anything past the ISP? No. So what is it? What kind of route is it going to need? Just like the firewall. Keep going here. Complete it. Yeah. Yeah. What's the next? What comes next? Or last, I should say. Huh? Yeah. So what's the IP of the inside address of the ISP?
204.
All right. Tell me double points when you come up next, okay? So that handles. Come on. That handles traffic from R1 to anywhere in the world. Okay? But R1 also doesn't know about this network, and it doesn't know about this network. Okay? So, who can give me one of the other static routes that I got to put on R1, so that it knows and learns what the network's going to be? And trick question here. Okay. What should they or should they not be? Okay. I have a question for you, sir, who answered 2 static routes. All right. Chance for redemption here. Why did you only say 2 static routes?
We got the network between the DMZ and R1, and then the network between R1 and the ISP.
The default route that we did, right?
The one
And the one for the DMZ.
Yeah.
But not the inside network? Perfect. Come see me for double points later. Why not the inside network? Why would I not want to put a route in R1 to 10.0.0.0? Well, how's traffic going to get there? Because of what? Somebody said it over there.
Because you bypass the firewall if you do that.
What?
Because you might bypass the firewall if you put the IP address.
I have the potential, but I still have to write an access list there. But why would I want to route anything from R1 to the inside when, look at your lab, guys. Look at something that we're doing later. This is why you always want to read through the lab. The workstations on the inside network, that AD, what does it have to have in order to communicate to the internet? Can it have a TIN network? Can I route from the TIN network to Google? Or what has to be done instead? You should have learned this in lab 2.
Can I answer?
Huh?
Can I answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Nat? Or Pat?
There you go.
Either answer.
Okay, so as traffic goes out the firewall, if you look in later on the question, it has you set up PAT. So everything's going to get overloaded on that outside interface to 204.184.21.30. All right, so that takes care of the inside. All right. All right. So I've done one static route on R1 to the outside. I still need to do one more static route. He was on to something there. Where you say it need to go? It need to go to the DMZ. So, question here for extra points. Don't answer if you've already answered. What is the static route going to be pointed to? What network on R1 for the DMZ? It's on the board. Where's the traffic? Where's the destination traffic from the internet to the web server, the FTP server, the DNS server, the mail server? What's its destination address going to be seen from the outside world? No. Go ahead.
Firewall?
No.
Is that a 134 network?
134.68.123.0. Okay, I'll buy that. You think you can give me the command? I'll give you a hint, it's IP route.
IP route,
You said 134, so I'll give you that.
the IP route 134.
Can you not read it because it's really small?
Yeah.
Okay, I know. 134.68.123. And what's a /26? Did this already? Last octets. Come see me out. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. What's the next hop? Again, we're working on R1. Where's that traffic got to get pointed to?
To the .30.
Correct. Correct. All right, so that's 204.184.21.30. Might help if I actually put that on there. I apologize. There. IP route 134.68.123.0, 255.255.255.204.184.21.30, which is the outside IP address of the firewall. Okay. So now we've gotten static routing done for R1. Everybody with me so far? Is this not making sense to anyone? Yeah.
Sorry, it kind of seems like a weird thing to ask, but
No.
you mentioned before that it would work between ISP and R1 with a straight-through cable, but I don't know if it's versions, but it doesn't on mine. The interfaces wouldn't come up.
I'm using an older version.
So the interfaces wouldn't come up until I put a crossover
Really?
in there.
Okay, we'll put a crossover then. Did mine come up?
I assume it did, because you didn't say anything.
Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, so I'm in the same boat here.
Go ahead, escape. No. Get rid of that big line.
How do you get the green lights to show?
That's what I'm doing. I have to do a crossover table, so it's getting 0, 1. There. Thank you. Alright. you can put a switch in the middle of those and connect them up by a switch, that works too. But you're right, you need green. Alright, so, now, last but not least, the ISP. Okay? On the ISP, I'm not terribly concerned, but I'm not really worried about a default route. Okay? Let's just assume that there will be one there. Alright? Or you could put one there. You're not going to get marked off either way. Alright? But if you want to put one there, it would be IP route. And then, since I don't have it, I don't know what the next hop is because it's not on the diagram, I can just put the interface name, right? Which is the outside interface, which is gig 0.
Yeah. You got 0, 1 going down, so.
Yeah, gig 0. Yeah, see? It's going to give me an error anyways. Don't worry about that. But what I do want to do is I want to make sure that the ISP router, and this happens sometimes in managed service networks where you might have access to an ISP router to do limited changes. AT&T is notorious for doing this. All right. You can set routes. So I have to tell the ISP router what networks it has to get to. So, how many networks do I have to tell the ISP router about? It already knows about 204.184.21.32/30 because it's connected. How many, other than the default route, which just assume it's given, how many static routes do I have to put on the ISP router so that it can advertise those routes to the internet? And we'll assume that it is doing that. Okay, so there's two assumptions there. Don't have to worry about default route, don't have to worry about route advertisement in a routing protocol. We're just going to assume that that's being done. But we do need to set up static routes on the ISP router to the network. So how many networks do I need to route to? Yeah. In the back. You had your hand up?
No.
No? Oh. Wrong side. Is it 1? 2? 3? What? 4? I'll say 4. No. How many networks do we have that are beyond the ISP going down? Okay, we have the 204.184.21.32, but that's connected. It already knows about it. We don't have to route to it. We have the 204.184.21.28/30. Who thinks we need to route to that? Okay. Who thinks we don't need to route to that?
Oh.
We don't need to route to it?
Well, route to that one. My thought was there's no like hosts there. So I mean, unless someone at the ISP or beyond is trying to
But what are we doing at that firewall, at that outside interface that you just said that we had to do because we don't have to route to the inside network?
doing path there.
Yeah, so if everybody's going to get that 204.184.21.30 overloaded, and we don't advertise it, we don't tell the ISP, oh, that network is this direction, guess what we're going to do? We're going to break the internet. See, who thought breaking the internet could be so easy? Do it every day, guys.
And hilarious.
And of course, we needed the DMZ network, right? That's a given. I'm sure everybody was thinking about that. All right. So, SP. Route 04 dot 1B something or another. 204.184.21.28.
Don't you mean dot?
No, it's the network, the network. And then the next hop is the outside interface of R1, which is 204.1.34. Thank you. Alright. And then we have to route to the public IP space that we're going to be using in NAT statements, or object statements, later on. But we can do that as just one single IP route statement. And that one is 134.68.123. 6. I will say. With the same, let's cut it out. I'll link this so you see it. Okay. So this is the DMZ network, IP route 134.68.123.0/26. And it's the same next hop, because we're still going to the outside interface of R1. Okay. And now, with all that you've done, you've IP addressed everything, you've done all of your static routing, you've set up all of your static routes, okay, for what you're going to need for NAT and PAT and access, okay? At this point in time. Unless there's something that throws us a curveball later on in the lab. We did this on purpose, so come back to it later. Alright? So, at this point in time, the best thing to do, but we're going to pause here. We'll come back to this on Thursday. Write everything in memory. All your stuff. Okay? And then save. Save as here, because I need to make sure I get this. CIS lab 3, CIS 467 dash Okay, I'm gonna say it's my desktop.
How did you get the link between the ISP to the R1 to some degree?
That right there, the crossover. Okay. Questions on this? We'll come back to it. For all of those of you who got extra credit, come see me after class. All right, you'll get somewhere between 5 and 10 points based on what you need, what you answered, etc.
Could you throw up the running config for the ASA?
Sure.
There's a couple things.
So, what I've done here that you have to look at is I've assigned the VLANs to the correct interfaces. VLAN 2 is connected to the R1, which is my outside interface. Ethernet 01 is my inside interface. I didn't have to do anything to it because it's already a switch port. It's already on VLAN 1. And Ethernet 02 is connected to the switch that is on my DMZ, which is VLAN 3. So it has a switch port access VLAN 3. On the VLAN interfaces, I have set up the proper IP address. On VLAN 1, 2, and 3, I've named the interface. On VLAN 3, I needed to put in no forward interface VLAN 1 first. Okay? Then I named the interfaces, and I set the security level. the DMZ to 50, which is right in between VLAN 1 and VLAN 2, right? I set the default route to R1 with the route outside command, okay? And the only thing I did on the firewall that you don't see there because they got removed is I removed all the DHCPD commands with the, you know, the no preempter. All right?
Thank you.
No problem. All right, let's go ahead and move on.